All right, post-patch survivor tier list. I've been seeing a lot of people on YouTube doing these after the new patch that just came out that kind of pretty much nerfed survivors down and buffed the demon and giving their opinions on it. So I want to come right out the gate and say that I've got everyone to 25. So I've played everyone extensively. I've got all the demons to also 45, except for the puppeteer. I think I've got like 43. So they're like almost right there at 45. So that's pretty much, I think, what's going to be the difference between my tier list and everyone else's tier list is that I've played a lot of Survivor, but then I've played a lot of Demon also. I don't really play Demon a lot anymore because of how tipped in favor the Demon is right now. The Demon is definitely overbuffed, and it is way too easy to win games as the Demon as opposed to Survivor. So now I'm pretty much exclusively just playing Survivor unless I just feel like changing it up every once in a while, but that's pretty rare. I'm mostly just wanting to play Survivor to help out new people and to educate people on what is broken or what is maybe overpowered or underpowered in this game. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I've got everyone lined up here from leader to warrior to hunter to support. First one up is leader Ash, which has a 15% damage increase, which they actually just buffed that by 5%, so it's 15 now. And then he's got a 20% fear resistance. That's pretty much his niche of his kit, is that he buffs everyone for ranged and melee all around him for 15% damage, and then it gives everyone a 20% fear resistance. Now, there is one thing that I need to say beforehand before I start getting into the leader tier list. Everyone is very confused about the ability where you pump 4 points into it, and then it says you get 20% extra, like, increased amount for their passive abilities, where, like, you would think that, oh, you're putting 20% onto the 20%. So now I have 40% fear resistance, and then I'm putting 20% onto the damage. So now I have 35% more damage. That's not how that ability works. That is not how that skill tree tier ability works. It is 20% of the base value of whatever that number is. So for instance, for Ash, he has 15% more damage increase. If you pump all 4 points into that and you get 20% of 15, then now you're doing 18% more damage instead of 15%. It's 20% of 15. And then with the 20% fear resistance, you've got 20% of 20. So now he's got like 24% fear resistance. So don't think you're adding 20% on top of the other numbers. It's 20% of that number. Just wanted to clarify that. So with leader Ash, I would put him in a solid A. I'm seeing some people putting him in S, and I'm seeing some people even putting him in D. I'm not sure why you'd put him in D. I think being able to buff ranged and melee by 15% at all times, but then on top of that, really that fear resistance is the big thing. Being able to max out your fear as a leader, going up to 50% fear resistance, and then with another 20% on top of that with him, I think is absolutely incredible. I think the average, player in the game can put 3 points into their fear. So going up to 30% and then him giving you the other 20, you're just not going to get possessed. Being able to take away possession from the demon in this game is a very, very big thing, especially with puppeteers who can just possess hunters and then just down the entire team. So I would put him in A tier. Annie, I would also put in A tier. Being able to just passively give a 25% damage increase rather than Ash's 15 is really nice, but it's only to ranged weapons. So if you have, basically, spoiler alert, I'm going to put Arthur here in A, only because I'm basing this off of the current bugs that are in the game right now. If Arthur gets fixed to where, well, I guess we'll talk about Arthur in a second, but Annie giving 25% to range damage, I would say she is A tier if you have hunters on your team. Do not pick Annie if you've got 3 melee characters and then you pick Annie. There's no reason to pick her over that. The warriors in the game are already doing 50% less damage with ranged weapons than than like the leaders do, like the average, the baseline of the game. They're doing 50% less damage. So do not pick Annie if you do not have any hunters. And that's going to bring us into Lord Arthur, is because don't pick Lord Arthur if you don't have any warriors. However, because the game is currently bugged right now, lots of bugs, Lord Arthur is currently bugged to where his passive, where he gives everyone 30% more damage with like light attacks, or his ability where it buffs everyone's melee damage. It's buffing everyone's melee and ranged. It's not supposed to be buffing their range damage. So currently right now he's bugged to where he's helping melee and ranged, and it's like the same amount as Annie. So essentially, if you're going to pick Annie, just pick Lord Arthur at this point. Unless you don't have Lord Arthur unlocked, then I guess in that point pick Annie. But again, only if you've got hunters on your team. If Lord Arthur gets changed, where he actually gets fixed, I would probably put him in a solid B. Just because being able to start with a sword, doing extra damage with the sword when you pop your ability, and just doing 30% more damage with light attacks in general is just really nice. Coupled with his level 25 ability, where you can just constantly spam finishers on people and essentially never run out of Lord's Wrath ability, is really, really nice. But for now, because he's bugged, I'm putting him in A. So here's going to be the big one. This is where it's going to get kind of controversial, is Army of Darkness Ash. Now, he recently just got a nerf to where he now his ability that he pops, it has a decreased duration. So instead of 25 seconds, it goes to 20 seconds. He has a decreased damage resistance. It was 50%, now it's 30%, and it has a higher cooldown. So he definitely got the nerf. He needed the nerf. He was definitely the best of the three warriors. I would put him in S tier if this tier list was like a month ago, but now I'm going to put him in probably B. This is where a lot of people are going to disagree because they probably want him to be in A or S. But I'm going to tell you something about the warriors when I get to Henry the Red specifically, that I think is going to change your mind on how warriors work in this game. So I'm going to put him at B right now. It's still really nice to be able to do, 125 damage every time your shield gets popped. Being able to create your own shields by getting finishers is great, because if you didn't already know, the warriors, they get 50% more melee damage by default. All three warriors do. So being able to get finishers more often with them is just really, really nice. So AOD Ash is going to go in B tier. He's still fun to play. He's still good. He just got the nerfs that he needed, which he should have already had at like the base game. What he is now is what he should have been when the game came out. So I'm not really even seeing it as a nerf. I'm just seeing it as this is the base Ash that we should have gotten. Scottie, D. You will never, ever, ever be able to convince me that Scottie goes any higher than D. And this is another thing that people were going to hate. I don't know why people like Scottie. There is no reason there's nothing that makes Scottie good. His ability is on a 30-second cooldown that does 100 damage, which already makes him worse than Ash because his does 125 and has no cooldown. So his ability is already worse. His other passive ability where he does cleave damage with heavy attacks, which just really, really is unfortunate, because if it was, let's say, if it were to change to like light attacks, maybe using light attacks would cleave enemies, I might have a different opinion on him. Or if his other passive ability where if you have you lose your fear whenever you kill something, change to maybe whenever you hit something, he would lose fear. I would probably be putting him maybe in C or possibly even B if it got a significant buff enough. But the game right now, the demon is winning from possessing a unit, usually basic units, possessing a basic unit early on, running up to you, and just hitting you over and over and over again. And I'll tell you what, as Scottie, you can't do anything to counter that. You don't have the stamina. You can only dodge once or twice if you've got your points into it, if the demon hasn't found you already. You know, you can only dodge twice, so you can't out dodge the attacks. You don't have any abilities that help you in the scenario, because doing 100 damage to the demon that has like 900 health as a basic unit is not going to do anything to it. Being able to kill it to reduce your fear is not going to help you, because you need to kill it for that to work, and you're going to die before you can kill the possessed basic unit. And being able to use heavy attacks to cleave damage is not going to help you, because you're dying from one single unit, not from like you're getting surrounded by a horde and you need to hit all of them at the same time or anything. His 5% efficiency with the lumberjack axe is nice, I guess, but 5% is only 5%. If they buff that up to 20, I might put him like in C tier, assuming everything else stayed exactly the same. But just as of right now, 5% is not enough to warrant any kind of... Nah. There's just nothing about Scottie that makes him a better choice than the other two. Henry the Red, we're going to go and put in A tier. He doesn't really have, honestly, anything about his kit. You know what? He might even go into B. You know what? No, I think he is going to go in A. The only reason that he doesn't go into B is because he has his ability where he can be invincible. Being able to res people without any way for the demon to stop you other than jump scaring you, and being able to res people without the demon being able to do anything besides jump scaring you. I think there's actually one other way, but I forgot what it was in the moment now. Is pretty amazing, especially when they just increased the amount of time it takes to revive someone from 3 seconds to 4 seconds. Henry the Red is quite nice to have on your team. However, the rest of his kit isn't that amazing. And now that I'm talking about him, it's making me sound like I should put him more in a B tier than an A tier. But Henry the Red, you know, your level 25 ability is one of the worst in the game, where it just increases your health by 10%, which is 130, and then increases your shield by 10%, which isn't even an extra hit. 10% is maybe one hit from like a light attack from a like a basic possessed unit. But I don't even think a heavy attack is going to matter with a 10% increase. So 10% isn't enough. If it was 20, I would say that would be worth it, but 10% isn't. Having an extra shield bar is kind of nice. It is nice to look down and see that you've got 5 shield bars, and then being able to use like one amulet for 2 shield bars is really nice. But with Henry the Red, the only reason he's even close to A is just because of his ability to go invincible for 7 seconds every 60 seconds. And being able to res people, being able to pick people up, and being able to get beat on by, let's say, a boss or a unit of any kind. You know, no matter how early in the game a possessed unit comes to attack you, you can pop your ability and be able to at least survive for 7 seconds. Or it would give you enough time to get to a car, pop your ability, and then get in the car guaranteed, and there's no way for the demon to, you know, stop you from getting into the car. And that's the only reason he's going into A. If that somehow got nerfed at any point, then I would put him into B, because what we're going to talk about now is that the stamina of warriors is so bad. I think they should at least increase it a little bit more to where they could get a maximum of 3 dodges, but only being able to have 1 at base, and then having 2 if you put all your, you know, your pink F, and then you put points into their skill trees to decrease the cost of dodging. Being able to only have 2 dodges is really, really, really hard when you've got a demon who is wailing on you nonstop. God forbid if they actually know how to chain their attacks. You know, like the puppeteer, I think, can get a 20 hit chain combo without stopping. The necromancer can do 13, I believe, and then the warlord I think is like 15. But like getting hit 13 times in a row without the enemy stopping, you can just keep backing up, but at some point, like they're gonna stop their combo and then run up to you and hit you, and you're only gonna be able to dodge once or twice. It's really, really tough being a warrior in this game. But now on the opposite end of that, we're gonna go to the hunters, and the very first hunter is our Hunter Ash, which I'm really debating between S and A. He did just get a nerf to where now his exercise ability, instead of having a 60-second cooldown, I think it's on an 80 or it might be on a 90. I should have double checked before starting the tier list here. But he essentially just got nerfed, which really, really sucks because the big thing in this game right now is basic unit early game possession. That was a weird way to word that, but you know what I'm saying. And he counters that perfectly. I'm personally gonna put him in S tier because even though it now takes an extra 20 to 30 seconds before you can exercise basic units again, which in reality it's not. That does really suck. It does suck and it doesn't suck, and I'm going to explain both of these. It sucks because now if the demon doesn't really kind of know what they're doing, they might possess something in 70 seconds rather than the 60, and then you would have been ready. However, demons that really know what they're doing, and what I do is you put down a portal, you put down a basic unit portal, you possess one of them, and then you bait out the Ash to use his ability on you. You barely use any infernal energy, and then you just go and possess another basic unit that came out of that portal. And now what you've done is you've lost, like a third of your energy because you had to possess that unit. Assuming that they didn't instantly use it, then you've used up some of your energy just being in the unit itself. But like they'll take you out of it, and then you just go and possess another unit, and that's it. So really having the 60-second cooldown or having a 90-second cooldown isn't that big of a difference, because either way you're not going to be able to double spam the exorcist ability. The other reason he's going into S is because starting with the double barrel shotgun is really nice as a hunter, and we're going to get into something later on about Amanda where it's kind of the opposite, where starting with the pistol is kind of a detriment. But starting with the double barrel shotgun is really nice because it's really, really nice to just walk up close to ammo and have the ammo just auto get picked up by just walking into it. So his other abilities where he can see chests through walls is really, really nice. Saves you a lot of time and lets you know the rarity of the chests of the buildings that you're going into. It also it saves you a bunch of time because you might need a couple more pink F to like max out your stamina or your ranged or your fear, and being able to walk next to a building and see that there's no chests in it, and you just keep walking, go to the next building. This is especially good on dead end where there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different buildings, and you can just walk in the street in front of each of them and see if there's any chests in every single building, and it is so nice. Having a 20% damage increase with his shotgun is just really, really good. Basically everything about his kit is good. Everything about him is good. The only thing that really sucks is that he just got nerfed. But again, is it really a nerf if the demon can just possess something and then immediately possess something else? Never ever use it on an elite or a boss. I'm seeing way too many Ashes play as this Ash and not know what the ability actually does. So they just use it every time anything gets possessed. And then now having the 90-second or 80-second cooldown is really bad, because then when you use it on an elite enemy and it does nothing, or a boss enemy and it does nothing, and then someone gets possessed 30 seconds later, you could have really used it to just stop the demon completely, especially when a very big meta right now with the good demon players is possessing hunters and then having the hunters just wipe your entire team. So let's move on to Ed. Ed just recently got a buff. I'm not sure if it was a buff or a fix to where like his ability is now, his level 25 ability is working as intended, or if it was a buff and it was already working, but now it's working overtime. His crossbow efficiency with 20% more damage to the crossbow is nice, but man, the crossbow is hard to hit shots with. It's not super hard to just hit body shots, but honestly, if you're going against a puppeteer and their units are acting so sporadically, unless they go to swipe at you and they have like a pause after their attack, it is extremely difficult, nigh impossible, to hit a moving puppeteer basic unit target from any distance. It is very, very difficult to hit them unless they are running straight at you. So I would say, even if you are playing as Ed, unless you get a purple crossbow and you're playing against, I would say, a necromancer or a warlord, then I would take the crossbow. But if you're playing against a puppeteer, I would just never pick one up. Even with the 20% damage increase, it's not worth it. You don't need to be doing 2,000 damage with the crossbow when you could just be doing 600 damage with a revolver, and it would be perfectly fine. His ability to be able to disable traps did get nerfed to where now the cooldown is longer, but I still think it's good because they didn't decrease the amount of time it lasts. It still lasts for 40 seconds. So I would still put him in A. Being able to disable the traps is really nice, but really, really his big thing is at level 25 when all the chests in the match suddenly become blue, purple, and legendaries, and you find very few white ones. That's really, really when he shines. If you don't have him to 25, then I would probably say he would be a B tier, maybe even kind of... I wouldn't quite put him in C maybe, but I would put him in B probably. And then once you get him to 25, he becomes an A tier list. Kelly, I'm going right to S. Putting her right to S tier, it's going to be a little biased. Kelly is my favorite character in the game. I love her ability. I love her. I just love everything about her. Very specifically her ability. Being able to use it offensive and defensively is very, very, very rare in this game. I don't really think any other character in this game has an ability that is offensive and defensive built into the same ability. Maybe you could argue that like Henry the Reds could be used offensively because you could pop his ability and then go in and attack a boss, so it's kind of actually offensive. But at the end of the day, it's still defensive because what it's doing is just making to where you can't take damage. It's not making it to where you take damage and you deal more damage. You just can't take any damage. Kelly's being able to dodge without using any stamina for 10 seconds is just incredible. I think it might even say 7 seconds on her kit, but it actually lasts for 10. If you pop it and then look in the lower right corner where your ability is, it actually is 10 seconds long. And then being able to pop it and being able to do bleed damage, not even just from dodging, but just popping it and doing bleed damage is amazing. Being able to like look at a boss or an elite unit, not really basic units unless maybe they're possessed, and like you're in the final like Necronomicon book phase of the game and you just want to like really kill that basic unit, then you pretty much are only popping this ability for offensive when they're possessing an elite or a boss. But also on the defensive side where you can just infinitely dodge for 10 seconds and the demon, there's nothing they can do about it. The only thing that has happened to me, I think one time, is that one time I was spamming dodges and like a basic unit came out of nowhere and hit me because it hit me in between, like at the perfect 0.001 milliseconds between the dodges. But I mean, that's extremely rare. That's probably not going to happen to you. I really love her kit. I love being able to just dodge once, and then when you shoot something it does bleed damage. Her proficiency with the meat hammer, having a 30% increase with the meat hammer, The meat hammer is the worst weapon in the game, definitely, but in her hands, being able to spam F and just smack down enemies is really nice. If you can get like a blue or even a purple meat hammer with her, then she's good to go. Don't even give her another weapon, just give her the meat hammer. But then her level 25 ability comes into play, to where I think that they know that it's bugged, and they put a band-aid on it because they don't know, like they just can't fix it quite yet. So they just put a band-aid on it. It used to be where she's in sustained combat, which apparently is almost all the time. Like, I've been running through the woods with like nothing chasing me, and it says that I still have the buff. Like, it's really weird how it calculates when you're in combat. It used to be to where, if she was in sustained combat, she had a 60% damage increase to her melee and her ranged, and that's her bug right now, is that not only it's kind of buggy with when it says you're in combat, but on top of that, it's giving her ranged damage, which it is not supposed to do. Or maybe it is supposed to do, and it is a typo in the game where it says melee damage, but it's supposed to be only giving her 30% melee damage the longer she's in sustained combat. But as of right now, it's giving her a 30% damage increase to ranged and melee. If they were to fix that and switch it to melee, I would probably put her back in A tier, because just being able to cause bleed damage and being able to infinitely dodge is still really, really, really useful in this game. But as of right now, she's broken, so she's going into S tier. Amanda is next, and I think she's going to go into B. You could make an argument for her to be in C. You could make an argument for her to be in A. I think B is right where she belongs as of right now. Being able to start with a pistol is, again, nice, because then you can just walk up to ammo and just auto pick it up. It is really nice, but there's quite a few things with her kit that are weird. So having the pistol, first of all, is already bad for the rest of your team, because not only is the pistol probably like the worst, other than maybe the crossbow could be worse, but the worst weapon in the game as far as a ranged gun, the pistol can just melt your team and stun lock them. That is very, very bad. You've got a pistol and you get possessed, and all you do is just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they're down. And there's nothing they can do about it, because when you get shot from the pistol, and because of the fire rate of it, and because of her proficiency with it, where she's got an extra 20% damage increase with the pistol, you are going to die before you can even do anything, because there's no counter to it. You'll just get stun locked over and over again. So it's pretty bad. Typically, whenever I play Amanda, I will get rid of the pistol immediately. The 20% damage increase is nice, but I would still rather have a blunderbuss and just at all times have that like last clip in the chamber, or whatever that ability is called, that tier skill is called, where like the last bullet in the gun deals an extra 20% damage. I just have that at all times. Or I would even rather have, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'd really rather. I think the blunderbuss would be the best thing with her. Maybe the double barrel shotgun could be okay, but then in that case, you might as well just be playing the other Ash. If you want to be using a double barrel shotgun, just use him, because at least he has proficiency with it, and he can also, depossess people. Amanda, having the infinite ammo is really nice. It's a really, really fun ability to use, but with a 90-second cooldown on it, and honestly, it says it lasts for like 7 seconds. It does not feel like it. It feels closer to 5 or 4. I'm sure it is 7 seconds, but when you pop, and then you have one bullet left in the pistol, and then you pop your ability and then just use it over and over and over again, it feels like it's only a few seconds long, because you're having so much fun. I will admit that she probably has the most fun ability in the game. I enjoy using it, but as far as the rest of her kit goes, and like how you're supposed to play with as her, she's just meh. She's just okay. She's good. Now, here's going to be another big one This is a very, very big one, and I'm going to thank a specific YouTuber here, Sledge, and that I watched of his tier list, and he said something really, really great about this support Ashe, and that is, I'm going to piggyback off of that, is that if you are solo queuing, he is a D tier support. If you have no communication and you're just solo queuing, which is 99% of the games that I play are solo queues, he is the worst support, definitely, of all three supports. If you are in a team of 4 and you guys are on mics and you've got some hunters on your team and they know what they're doing, he is an S tier. Because maybe not S, but probably, honestly, it could be between S and A. But I'm going to put him in D, same as Sledge, just because I'm a solo queuer and he does not work with solo queuing. His ability to headshot something and then the follow-up shot heals by 30% of that damage is amazing. If you get a hunter on your team, if you get an Ed and you're doing 2200 damage per headshot with your crossbow, you know, you're getting healed by like 600 health, which, spoiler alert, the health of the hunters are 900. So you're almost giving yourself a full heal every time you hit a headshot if you are coordinated with this Ashe. If you are not coordinated with this Ashe, then he goes in D tier because his ability to heal got nerfed about a month ago with his heavy attacks. It's also really hard to play with him unless you are around your group the entire time, because he does less damage with melee and range by 20% by default by just being a support. He can't really kill anything, and that's the thing, is that he doesn't want to kill anything. He wants to use the lowest damaging weapon in the game, which I believe is probably either the meat hammer or the hunting knife, because he wants a fast, low damaging weapon so that he can spam heavy attacks as often as he possibly can to get that heal constantly. Which means that you're going to have a hard time killing anything. So if any possessed unit starts coming after you, you have 3 dodges as a support, and then you can't kill it. So you're essentially having to rely on your team for all of the killing, and which I guess is kind of really true about all the supports here. None of them have abilities that help with killing in any way. But at least the Ashe can just constantly heal himself. Worst case scenario, you are all by yourself and something does get possessed next to you and there's no cars, then you could just constantly keep heavy attacking it and hope that it offsets the damage a little bit or enough to where your team can come in and come help you, and the other supports can't do that. They could just drink colas and use amulets all day, but you're the only one that can just constantly heal at all times whenever you want. So I'm going to put him at D for solo queuing, and I'll put him at A or even S if you've got a team of coordinated people. Cheryl is going to go... let's talk about Cheryl for a second. Her ability got nerfed quite a while ago to where now it heals for a lot less. It's like 1/8 of your health now with her ability. Being able to start with an extra shimps and hold more shimps is really nice. That is really, really nice. Being able to drink a shimps and lower everyone's fear is also really nice, because a big thing, again, is possessing hunters and then the hunters wipe the whole team. If you can just help keep the fear down, that is really, really good. And then her final ability, where when she heals for even more. She heals for another 100 on top of like the 400 to 450 that a Shemp heals. So, and then God forbid if you put some points into actually increasing the healing of the Shimp's Cola by like another 20%. She's healing, pretty much a hunter almost to full HP. She's healing like 80% of the hunters and the supports. And almost the leaders, but the leaders have a little bit more HP than the supports and the hunters do. She's good. I would say that she is the best of the 3 supports as far as pure healing goes. The other two do not have anywhere close to the amount of healing capability that Cheryl does. So I'm going to put Cheryl in... I don't know whether to put her in A or B. I feel like B is too low, and I feel like A is too high. I don't think she's on par with these other... Well, you know what? No, I'm going to put her in A. The healing is so significantly higher with Cheryl compared to the other characters that I think that she warrants being an A rather than being B. I don't think she's as bad as these two characters. I think having a level 25 Cheryl on your team, you know you're going to get good heals and consistent heals. Because the thing is, Cheryl, even though she got a slight nerf in her ranged healing, there's some kind of bug going on with Cheryl right now where when she hits level 10, it increases her healing. When she drinks a cola, it increases her area of which it reaches the survivors to be able to get healed from that cola. That was a weird way to say it, sorry. But essentially when she gets to level 10 or 15, it increases that area of effect. And then when she hits level 25, it increases it even more. So she has some kind of bug where as she's leveling up, it is increasing the range at which when you drink a cola, it is healing your teammates. So she is really, really easy to heal other people with if they aren't grouping up on a specific area. Then she can heal people from much further away than, let's say, Pablo, who has an extremely small healing area, and then the other Ashe that just has like an average normal area. But now we're on to the final survivor in our tier list, which is Pablo. This one's going to be a little controversial. Is that, first of all, I'm noticing that actually no one is going to go into C tier list. Actually, no one is C. You're either really, really bad. I mean, I could put this Ashe in C because at least he's okay. But I think as a solo queuer, he's not very good at all. You know what? I'm going to change it. I actually am going to put him in C because at least he, not only with your melee attacks can you sustain yourself a little bit and your team, but if you are, let's say, one-on-one with like an elite or a boss or something, and you can just constantly pump out headshots nonstop, you can essentially be healing yourself from a range. So that is really nice. I am not going to put him as bad as Scottie, because Scottie is definitely just the worst character by far in the entire game right now. Until he gets buffed, then he is going to sit alone in D tier. Pablo, I'm going to say a few things about Pablo because I feel like Pablo is just a solid B. Like when I think about Pablo and I think about someone using Pablo, if I see someone picking Pablo on my team, I immediately just think, okay, that's good. Like it's not going to be great because his area of effect of healing is extremely small. You almost have to be touching him in order to get his amulets or his colas. However, playing as Pablo is very, very fun against a demon because we're going to name a few things here. First, let's go down the list of what he can do. His ability to be able to create an amulet every 2 minutes is really, really nice. Especially for in-game, it is really, really helpful. It's just great. It's a good ability. If they were to buff it, I think it would be too much of a buff. I think if they brought it down to like a minute and a half, it would get crazy. And if they nerfed it to where it was every 3 minutes, then he would probably go down to like C tier. But we're gonna keep him in B for now. And then his other passive is that he just starts with an extra amulet. It's nice. It's fine. I don't think you'll ever need that passive because you should be finding, even being able to hold like 5 amulets, you should be finding plenty of amulets out in the world that you don't need to be starting with an extra amulet. But it is kind of nice because if you have an extra amulet for early game possession, then it is really nice to have just an extra one if you can't end up finding like all 6 before the demon finds you. It is nice to just kind of be able to spam constant amulets. Being able to, or I guess that's his level 10 ability. His level 1 passive is that he is invisible to the demon, which is his big thing that everyone thinks about when they think of Pablo, is that the demon cannot see you if you get in a car. The demon can see the car moving if they're paying attention to the map, but that's just kind of rare. The demon cannot see you if your fear level is at max. The demon cannot see you if you fire a weapon. Everything that has a notification for the demon, like showing players that they're in a specific spot, Pablo just counters all of that. Pablo is, next to Henry the Red, Pablo is the best character to have as far as teammates going down and dying. Pablo can pick up their soul and run to an altar and revive them, and the demon will have no idea. They will have no idea. Unless you're the only one alive and the demon has found you, the Pablo is pretty much invisible the entire game. Being able to res people is so much fun, and the demon having just like no idea that you're doing it. Being able to go around, especially in the beginning of the game, and get all 3 map pieces, and just driving around in a car and getting all 3 map pieces is amazing. The demon will have no clue what the heck is going on, because either A, he'll have found your team and then wonder how you're still getting map pieces because he doesn't know where you're at, or he just won't find your team and you'll find all 3 map pieces within the first 3 minutes, and the demon will just be flabbergasted and they'll just DC. His last ability is also really nice. It's good. Being able to, like, as soon as you spawn in, you're already starting to gain shield is a really, really nice passive ability. Is that at any given time, if you have less than 1 bar of shield, you gain 1 shield bar, which makes it to where, like, as soon as you get your first pink F, you got to put it into shield immediately and then actually use a shield on yourself. So you're essentially, you're going to get 2 shields right off the bat. As soon as you find your first pink F, put it into shield, maybe even put all of them into shield until your shield is maxed out, if you feel like that's what you want to do. But I feel like I'd rather put like 1 into shield and then maybe some into fear, and then maybe start going into melee, possibly. I think it depends on what weapon you get, because you do 20% less damage as support anyway with both weapon types. So if you find a really good melee weapon, then put points into melee. If you find a really good range weapon, put points into ranged. However, you should be giving these weapons to the people that are actually good at using them anyway. So that's gonna be up to you kind of scenario. Being able to be in combat, and let's say the demon takes down your shield, and then you just wait a few seconds and you start gaining your shield again. Let's say that the demon has now gotten off focused from you, and they're now focusing on someone else. You now have time to gain a shield passively, so that by the time you fight the demon again, you have a shield again. It's really nice. It's almost on par with the Army of Darkness Ash's ability, but he actually has to get finishers in order to get his shield. However, his is infinite. He can go all the way up to 4 shield bars with doing finishers. Pablo's is only just the first shield bar. It doesn't go beyond the 1 bar of shield that you have. So that's the tier list. I feel pretty darn confident about it. If I had to change anything, I'm looking. I really don't see anything that I would change other than stuff that I've mentioned already, where if people were to get fixed, like if they were to, fix Lord Arthur, I think he would go into B tier. If they were to buff Henry, then he might go into S. If, Ed is kind of a hard one, because I almost think that Ed might go into S tier because of his ability to disable traps and then be able to, give everyone on the team more pink F just overall, because the entire map now has higher tiered loot chests. And God forbid, the other good thing that I saw someone comment this on YouTube today, is that if someone is playing Ed and they're level 25 and they DC, at least all of the chests on the map still remain like the higher tier rarities. They don't go down or anything once he leaves, because as soon as he spawns into the game, all the chests, all the rarities just go up. You know, we don't know exactly how it works, but I'm assuming that's how it works. Is when someone has picked an ed, you load into the game. As soon as the second that the game loads, it just increases the rarity of all the chests. Except for like the white ones, you know, there's still a few that are around, but yeah. So he could possibly go into S tier, but I think I'm going to keep him in A for now. He's a good player. He's great. But other than that, yeah, I think that is pretty solid. I will leave a link in the description so that you guys can do your own tier lists. Because I actually found it took me quite a while to find this one. I kept clicking on people's videos of their tier lists, and it took me forever to find a link to this tier list. So I will leave it in the description, and let me know what you guys would change about it. You know, do you agree with every single pick that I did here? Do you disagree? Do you think Kelly is a D? Do you think Scottie is an S? Let me know. Comment below, like the video, all that jazz. And I will see you guys when I see you. Bye-bye.